Good morning, everyone. Marian Gibbs, alcoholic. I want to thank John for inviting me out here this weekend and all the speakers that I haven't heard. And oh my God, I'm not as emotive as you, but I'm going to try. And where'd my host go? Oh, he's gone. You know, like when you get an Uber ride and they ask you how to rate the driver? He is a 5-star. He sent me a text. I said, I'm about 40 minutes out. And then he's sitting outside waiting for me. And then he comes to the car. Not only does he get my luggage for me, but he carries them upstairs for me and puts them in my room. I'm like, man, a girl could get used to that. And he's done a wonderful job. And he just put in a bid on a house today and the amazing things that can happen for us. So, I moved here from California. Just let's get past that. I've been here 10 years before the crowd came. And, in California, when you go out to eat, the waitress asks if you want a cocktail or a glass of wine. But when I moved here, I found out the national drink or the state drink is sweet tea. So I went to this meeting, I don't know where I was, 20 minutes outside of Knoxville. You could be out in the boonies somewhere, and I'm listening to these people talk early, and this guy says, Jeb wrecked his pickup truck last night. And the woman's like, he did? He goes, yeah. She says, how is he? Well, he's doing good, but that truck's ruined. And she goes, well, that's good to know. And he said, well, it's his 3rd truck this year. And she said, aw, bless his heart. And I'm like, bless his heart, Jeb's an idiot, but I don't say it. And I called my sponsor in California, and I'm like, these people are too nice. I mean, I got a California rough edge on me, and I still have that today. And so my husband and I go out to eat, and he always gets coffee and water, and she says, can I get you some sweet tea? And he says, no, coffee and water. I said, I'm going to have regular tea, thank you. And she comes back around, she puts the drinks down in front of us, and I take a sip, and it's sweet tea, and I call her over. I go, excuse me. I said, I ordered regular tea. You gave me sweet tea. She goes, honey, sweet tea is regular tea. And I go, oh, I didn't know that. I just moved here from California. And she goes, oh, bless your heart. I was getting that all over the place, and I didn't know what bless your heart meant until somebody told me. And, so people don't know what to expect when you're from California. My sponsor, Jackie, who read today, is one of them. I'm going to tell a quick story. So I started sponsoring her good friend, and then shortly afterwards, Jackie asked me, I had a back-to-back fifth step, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. I don't normally do that. It was the timing, and so Angela comes over Saturday morning. I said, can I get you some coffee? And she said, yes, and we're chatting, and she says, so you're doing Jackie's fifth step tomorrow, right? And I go, yeah. I go, you want to play a trick on her? She goes, oh, yeah. So Sunday morning, Jackie's on the drive to my house, and Angela calls her, and she says, are you at Marian's yet? She goes, no, I'm on my way. She goes, oh, okay. She goes, why? She goes, how was your fifth step? She goes, different. She goes, what do you mean it was different? She asked me if I was willing to do it California style. California style? What's that? She asked me if I was willing to do it naked. And Jackie is like, what? She said, yeah, they think it's the most intimate you'll ever be with another person, and there should be nothing standing between us. And Jackie goes, what did you do? She goes, well, she did offer me a robe. And Jackie goes, but what did you do? She says, well, we did it naked. And so Jackie's out in my driveway puffing away. So she comes in, I get her coffee. I said, you talked to Angela last night? Nope. Oh, okay. I go, well, Jackie, in California, we believe this is the most intimate you're ever going to be with another alcoholic. And she's like, mm-hmm. And I said, and so we believe that there should be nothing standing between us. Yep. I said, so we like to do our fifth step naked. Okay. And I said, well, if you're not really comfortable with that, I can get you a robe. And she goes, nope. If you want to do it naked, we'll do it naked. And I thought, there's a woman going to any lengths to stay sober. And then she wasn't too well. She goes, I have a fifth step next weekend. Don't say anything because I'm going to do this to her. So we can have fun here in Alcoholics Anonymous. We're not a glum lot. We have a really good time. But I didn't think that when I walked in here in the rooms of July 12th, 1987, at the back door in Lancaster, California. I got you beat. Lancaster is a hellhole. And when Bill Wilson says the dreary desert of futility, I'm going, oh, he went to Lancaster. But I walked into that room, and it was where the low-bottom drunks went to, there's a line from the family afterwards I totally love, and it says, when we see a man sinking into the mire that is alcoholism, we give him first aid and place what we have at his disposal. We recount and almost relive the horrors of our past. And those men and women in that meeting knew that I was dying. Like, I have a medicine box, and it's got a Band-Aid when you cut yourself. It's got some salve and gauze if you get a burn. But it also has a tourniquet. And those people put a tourniquet on me because I was bleeding out in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was dying, and I didn't even know. And I got here at the age of 26. I thought, oh, God, this is terrible. This is terrible. Yet I've had the most joy and the most fun in my entire life here in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I grew up in Lancaster, and like I said, it's a dinky little town. It's 40-mile-an-hour winds and tumbleweeds. Our only gated neighborhood is the state prison, and it's not a place you want to move to. It's a place you end up at. And so, and that's where I grew up, and I found alcohol at the age of 11. My brother was... I have a picture of us as kids. It's my mom with a bouffant hairdo. It's probably from 1962. My dad still had hair. My brother's a politician. He had a politician smile. And then there's me. I'm a chronic malcontent. My parents used to tell me I was a chronic malcontent, and I was a chronic malcontent. I don't like anybody. And I think my parents knew there was something wrong with me, and they tried to give me something to focus on. I took tap, jazz, ballet lessons, piano lessons, modeling classes, etiquette classes. They made me wear a horrible little candy striper outfit. I put me on a swim team. I'm like, ugh, I don't even like any of that, and I don't like any of you. And that's how my life felt. My brother was class president, went off to college, got married, had 2 children. He's an elected official in the state of California. My sister came 9 years later. She robbed me of the place of the baby and the favorite in my family. And then she went off, she was on the tennis team, and she was on the softball team, and she was a homecoming queen. And then she went off to college, got married, had 2 children, and was an executive in the Fortune 500 companies. And then there was me, the middle child, I've been married 3 times. I would have married the other 2, but I was already married. And I have been in and out of jail, but I have the better life because of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I would not change what they have for what I've been given because of you. So anyway, I found that first drink at 11. I got beat up a lot at home because, see, when my sister robbed me of that position of the favorite of the family, I have to act out because I need all of your attention. And all of your attention means I'm going to get in trouble. And that means I'm going to get beat with a belt. And I'm willing to get beat with a belt because I can get your attention for 15 minutes while you're yelling at me. And it was worth a price I was willing to pay. And so those continued, and it was on a daily basis because, I get sent home all the time from school. I get notes, they get phone calls. You went after somebody. My brother had a fight with some kid in the neighborhood, and my brother has him pinned, and he says, go get Mom. I heard him say, go get the croquet mallet and bash him in the face, so I did. And, my family is like, my God. But at 11, I found alcohol, and alcohol changed everything for me. It didn't matter that I wasn't like my brothers or sister. It didn't matter that I didn't fit into my family's home. I just felt good, and I liked the way it made me feel. And I drank, and I didn't have too many consequences. I graduated when I was a junior in high school, and I married my first husband, and I don't have business being married. I don't even know how to stay married, I don't know how to think about anybody but myself. And he came home one night from work. He worked a swing shift. I'd get off work at 5. I worked in Hollywood. I'd drive home with one eye, and he'd get home, and I would say, I want to go out to this place tomorrow. What do you think about my new haircut? Do you like the color I put in? What about my new dress? You said you were going to do that for me. The whole time, my entire marriage is all about me. because now I don't have my dad's attention. I'm going to have to get my husband's attention all the time. And then one day he comes home and he said he was leaving. And I said, leaving? He goes, well, I'm unhappy. I'm like, how can that be? Because I'm happy because I'm asking him to fulfill everything that I need. And he left on a Wednesday, and I went to work on Thursday. The girls would go out to the clubs, and I said, can I go? And they said, sure. And I went out to a nightclub. Now, my first concert was Led Zeppelin, 1977, and at the Forum. But they took me to a nightclub that played Madonna and Chaka Khan. I'm like, what is this? And I'm standing there. I got like a deer in the headlights, and my girlfriend gave me a Long Island iced tea and said, here, have this. 2 Long Island iced teas later, Chaka Khan, woo! I loved it. I loved the smoke. I loved the men. I loved the music. I loved everything about it. Made everything okay in my life. I didn't drink one night, and I started to cry about that loss. And I said, forget it. I'm going out to the bar. And I got dressed, and I went out to the club, and I started drinking. Young kids don't know what clubbing is, but clubbing in the 80s, wild. There are some movies on it, so you should see one. I had a great time. But things started to happen behind my drinking, and my roommate would say, I can't believe you said that to Patty. And I'm like, well, was she mad? Oh, she was ticked. I don't even like Patty. I don't care. Then as things happened, she'd tell me what I did, and I'm like, no, tell me I didn't. At the end of the friendship, it wasn't the end of the drinking. She'd say, get out. I'm like, what? Get out. I'm a blackout drinker. I don't even know what that is. And I continued to drink, and I came home one day, and there was a note that said, you scare me. I was mad. She had moved out, and she moved out. It was February 1st, and I was mad because the rent was due, not because my best friend moved out. And so I did the only thing I could do is I drank. And now I drank myself out of my job. I have an extension cord. I don't have any electricity, so I have an extension cord parked over the balcony, the stereo, and a lamp. I have maggots in my refrigerator and freezer because what I had in there has spoiled. I have 50 bags of cigarettes trash cans that I'm picking out my cigarette butts. I stopped taking showers because I don't have any hot water. The book says our alcoholic life becomes the only normal one we know, and I'm willing to live like this as long as I can continue to drink. The judge had sent me to court-ordered group therapy and 6 AA meetings and a restricted license. So when I was going out, I'd say, well, I can't drive, but we can take my car, and it freed me up to drink like I want to drink. I'd have no idea about controlling and enjoying my drinking. That was not an option for me. And so I went to one AA meeting. The guy was a Skid Row drunk. He lived in a cardboard box. I thought, my God, if I lived in a box, I'd go to AA. I'm 25 years old. I don't identify with that guy, right? Yet I get very close to living in a cardboard box because I continue to drink. So what happens is, I got arrested right before the Halloween party, and I told her I was going to cut back after the Halloween party. But I got arrested on October 30th, 1985. So 1986, I'm living like this, and I'm down in Sybil Brand, where somebody carried a message, and so it was a women's county jail out there, and I'm in line to get on the bus to go to court, and there's all the other women, and they're all cuffed up, and I'm cuffed up, but I want my own bus because I think I deserve my own bus, because I want the attention. Look at her, she's escorted on her own bus because I like the attention. And I keep stepping back. I'm in my little uniform. I got a blue dress that's too long, size 13 tennis shoes, a ratty blue sweater with the elbows worn out that they gave me. And I'm the last one standing. I'm like, great, I'm going to get my own bus. But they don't give me my own bus. They put me on the men's county bus. And you know that you're looking really skanky when you're on the men's county bus and you're not getting one single cat call. I'm like, it was bad. So I get out of jail and I make it back home. I have to beg somebody to come and get me. And I don't have keys to my apartment. I hadn't had them, so I used a ladder, and most of my stuff was gone, and I'm having a fit. Where are my things? And our neighbor came out and he said, Marian, your parents were here. Oh, great, right? So I call my brother and his wife. I'm like, so yeah, mom and dad were down at the house. Yeah. And when they did, your dad had a heart attack. Because my parents walked into that. They don't know I'm in jail. They haven't heard from me. My mother once called and said, Marian, we are so worried about you. I said, when you see my picture on TV that says, do you know this girl? Then you worry. Get off my back. That's how I treated my parents. My dad walked into that and he smells the rotting food. They're looking for their dead daughter. And it was so much for my father that he had a heart attack. I waited till my dad got out, my car's impounded, I borrow somebody's car, I drive up to Lancaster, and I have all the excuses why I'm drinking like that. What's happening? I'm not doing it. Other people, ask my neighbors. So I go back to that apartment. My parents give me the money to get my car out of impound, and about 2 weeks later, I look out the peephole, and there's my mom and dad. Ugh. I opened the door, and my mom said, Marian, you can't keep living like this. You need to come up to Lancaster and get your life in order. All right. So I drive up to Lancaster. My friends are going water skiing. They're non-alcoholic. I have a biker boyfriend. But I head out with my friends. But then I have my biker boyfriend meet me there, and I drink in a bar the entire weekend. And when I got home, I walked in the door. My car had been repossessed. And my mom says, Marian, you have been lying all along. You have two options. You're going to go get help, or we'll drop you to the streets of LA. What do you want to do? I am trying to figure out, do I want to go get help or go live on the streets? I have no one to call. No one. The book says to die an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis aren't easy alternatives to face. I said, well, I guess I'll go get help. So I walked down that hallway, Antelope Valley hallway, with my mom and dad, and there were like 7 guys, like that group right there, of those men. And I'm like, man, I hope that's where I'm going. Because my primary purpose were those 7 men. It's not about getting sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. And they had H&I, they call it H&I in California, hospitals and institutions. It's also called treatment and corrections. And they came in like 3 nights a week for book studies, and this woman at every book study raised her hand. My name is Vicki, I'm an alcoholic, I'd like to talk about this here. Then we'd read the next paragraph. My name is Vicki, I'm an alcoholic, I'd like to talk about this here. I'm like, shut up. My name is Vicki. I'm like, I hate that woman. Oh my God. They told me to get a sponsor. They didn't tell me to get one that gave direction, so I didn't. I joined another fellowship because I was 25 years old. I'm not alcoholic. I mean, who's alcoholic at that age? And, they tell me it's the first drink that gets you drunk. I'm like, no, it's not. It's like the 5th. Because I don't understand the idea of what alcoholism is. I don't know that once I start to drink, I can't stop. So I get that sponsor that doesn't give direction. I hook up with one of those boys. I'm still legally married. I'm dating the biker. Now I got myself a new boyfriend that he's a chronic 30-day relapser. That's okay. We're going to fix one another. And we get out and we get an apartment together. And, the book says, they tell you in treatment, 90 meetings in 90 days. The big book says try not drinking for a year, but that's a lot when you're not alcoholic. So I did my 90 meetings, and then I cut back. And I cut back to the point where that boyfriend walked in, and he was loaded. And I said, baby, if you're going, I'm going. When I went out and got some tequila, and I stayed another 8.5 months out. I moved 9 times my last year of drinking. I'm always on the move. So I'm on the move again, and with that boyfriend, I talk a girlfriend into getting me a job at their law firm. And I call in sick. I'm only going to drink on Fridays, and then Thursdays roll over because, I don't work hard. Nobody works on Friday. And then pretty soon it's every day of the week. I start calling in. I call in so many times, I don't have any more lies. I think my grandmother died 3 times, or maybe I had 3 grandmothers, but somebody's always dying. And so I'm like, I just can't lie anymore. So I unplugged my phone from the wall because we had plugged in phones at the time. And my employer calls the Tahunga Sheriff's Department and said, we think our secretary has been murdered. So I'm passed out drunk with that boyfriend. I have bruises on my arms because I get men like that, and I have a crack under the door, and I see those shiny black boots, and I'm like, shh, it's the cops. Well, I'm not getting up, but they're not leaving. They think I'm dead. So they jiggle open the window and use their baton and pull back the curtains on me, and they see me, and then I feign all this fear, and the cop can see the bruises. He's like, what's going on here? I was down at the grocery store, and this guy, he tried to abduct me. I give an Academy Award performance, and he takes a police report, and he calls my employer and says, your secretary was assaulted. And they sent this giant bouquet with a note that says, take the rest of the week off. So Monday, I thought it was prudent that I attend work and I wear the right clothing so I can pull up my dress to show those bruises to my boss, and I relive the assault. Now I only have 2 friends left talking to me in that office, and I pull up the sleeves and I recount the story. And the cop had given me a card for victims counseling, and my head says, if you don't go, they're gonna know you're lying. So I go get counseling for an assault that never even happened. See, because I can no longer differentiate the true from the false. I've told a story, you believe it, I believe it, and now it's a true story. It's crazy. So I'm gonna tell you about my last week of drinking. 4th of July, 1987. Your birthday's July 3rd. I was in jail 1 year, and my second 4th of July, I'm lost in a blackout in Mexico. And I had the grand idea to go to Mexico with the girls, and I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drink tequila. And the last thing I know is I'm dancing. But I come to, and I got a black eye, a fat lip, cracked ribs, no panties, parked in the desert, and my money's gone. I'm like, man. I drive back to the hotel. Nobody answers. The maid lets me in. I don't have keys. And their luggage is gone. I'm like, well, they couldn't have gone far. I mean, I drove. So I slept it off, and they didn't come back. And then I laid by the pool till the end of the day. And I realized they're not coming back. And I came across the border, and I picked up the phone, and I called my parents. And turns out that they got home and called my family and said, she's crazy. See, I got in a fist fight with them and the federales, and I tried to run my friends over, and they caught a Greyhound bus home from the border. They thought I did drugs. To my knowledge, I didn't do anything other than alcohol, but that's what happens to me when I drink. So the next day, my head says you can have just 2, the great obsession. Just 2. I have 2. The next day, I'm only going to have 2. By the 3rd day, I'm drinking like it's ginger ale. And there I go. So July 11th, 1987 is the night of my last drunk. It wasn't my worst one. It just happens to be the last one. I'm on a blind date. Let's say I'm on a blind date with Ben. Like, hey, I got the perfect girl for you. She's sporting a black eye and everything, but she's perfect. Set me up with a lawyer. And I'm like, so I'm at this shishi bar in Beverly Hills, but I look across the room and there's John, the man I've been waiting for my whole life. And I leave my date to go home with another man. And in the middle of doing the nasty, I got a moment of clarity. And I'm like, dude, I gotta go. And he's like, now? I'm like, right now. See, because that wasn't the first time that happened to me, but that had to be the last time it happened to me. And if you're a woman who drinks like that and lives like that, there just comes a time that you can't even look at yourself one more time in that mirror. You cannot live with the feelings and the hatred and the despicable feelings that you got living inside of you. And I called those people I met in H&I in Lancaster the year before. And I said, I'm in trouble. He says, why don't you come up to Lancaster? I said, I don't have gas. He goes, Marian, if you get here, we're going to get you home. And I drove up there, and he was a big guy with a big old belly, and I met him at the submachine shop on 20th Street West and Avenue J, and a sandwich shop is still there. And I opened that door, and he stood up, and he just put his arms out like this, and I went running, and he just held me to his chest. I just started bawling, and he gave me that comfort. And he said, Marian, you never have to feel this way for the rest of your life, one day at a time if you don't want to. Man. And I just cried. I don't know how I'm not going to drink, but I can't keep feeling this way. I can't. But he sold me on that first bit of hope. And I got engaged at 3 weeks of sobriety. I didn't even really like him, but I felt that I needed him. I've always felt that I needed a man. And, you know, and I asked this woman to be my sponsor, but she tells me all of your juicy stuff. I got everything about Sonia here. Ooh, everything about Christine. Oh my God, Isa, you did what? I'm not going to talk about the men, the maggots, and the 50 bags of garbage. I am scared to death, and she's telling me I need to take an inventory. I don't even know anything about the first 3 steps. So like I said, I hung out with the boys because the women knew my game, and I know you know that I know my game, and so I don't hang out with women. I hang out with boys, and they're getting direction from the book Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm not. So I go to an old timer. I'm like, hey, you know a woman who uses the book? Yeah, Marian. Vicky. No thanks. So I suffer a while longer. I'm like, hey, do you know a woman who uses the book? Yeah, here you go. Vicky. Dang it. When you suffer long enough and you become desperate enough, I picked up the phone and I called her. And I had a whole spiel of why she needed to sponsor me. And she says, Marian, I'd be happy to. And you're a real alcoholic. And if you want to stay sober, you're going to have to take these steps. And you have to come to meetings early and stay late and stick out your hand to people with less time and empty ashtrays and wipe down tables and make and pour coffee and never turn down an AA request. Okay. Oh, I didn't want that. But it started my journey in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I followed that woman around. She did H&I service work. I went, I had 30 days of sobriety, and they gave me a panel to the juvenile boys because nobody wanted juveniles. I'll take them. I don't have really much of a message to share. I don't have any message to share, actually, but it was a commitment, and it kept me in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous. So Vicki and I sat down, and we read the doctor's opinion, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm an alcoholic. Because I wanted to be an ANDA. And she said, did you drink? And I said, yes. She goes, let's address your drinking and see if you belong here, because if you don't, I'm going to send you to the fellowship that you need to go to. But by the time I got done, I was like, oh my God, I'm an alcoholic. I had no idea. I have a physical allergy and a mental obsession. You can just have 2. Stay away from the tequila. Eat dinner first. Yes. And then once I start, I can't stop myself. I'm the girl you're lifting up and carrying out of the bar night after night after night. I don't intend to get that way. I had a bad reputation at the nightclub. Oh, if it's not the infamous Marian, which is not good, being infamous. Famous is, infamous, no. So, you know, but I wasn't very convinced that my life was unmanageable. Of course, when we're all drinking, but now, you know, I'm sober, and what are you talking about? I'm not taking clothes out of the trunk of my car. I'm going to work every day. I'm looking better. I'm taking showers on a regular basis. I don't know what you're talking about, Vicki. And I couldn't get it. At 9 months of sobriety, I went on a cruise with Bill Story helped close that deal for me, because I drank like Bill. All his moves, who talked about that? You did. Bill Story closed the deal for me. I had self-knowledge, but I drank again. Fear, but I drank again. Cocksuredness, but I drank again. All those geographics, but I drank again. Written sweet promises, but I drink again. Bill's stories, like, and I had not even thought of any of those. But then I started paralleling my drinking with Bill's. And I'm like, oh my God, I can never drink again. So at 9 months of sobriety, I decided to go on a cruise with a normie girlfriend. She goes, you can probably drink. I said, yeah, first day. Even the second day. Third day, naked, hanging from the flagpole. Oh, you know, the book says if we tell them about what we're like when we drink, they won't ask you to drink. She didn't ask me to drink. But I said, you can drink. And we're on our way to the casino, and I'm watching that Kahlua and cream mix up on that bar, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks good. Maybe I can have a sip. Oh my God, maybe I can lick the straw. And I grabbed that bar, and I closed my eyes, and I said, my name is Marian. I'm an alcoholic. God help me. I don't want to drink. She got her drink, and we went to the casino. I said, Cindy, I'll be right back. And I got my big book out. I brought it along, and I sat down in my room, and I read chapter 3, more about alcoholism, the insidious insanity of the first drink. Because I understood by then it was the first drink that was going to get me drunk. You know, that trip wasn't that successful because I'm engaged to be married, but I met him on that cruise. You're right. And I had sex with that man. And I came home and I called my sponsor. I said, I may not be drinking or doing anything else, but nothing in my life has changed. I'm doing the same thing at the expense of everybody in my life, the same thing I've done all of my life. What do I have to do? And she said, it's about time. So then I got to do God. God, I'm from California. My parents forced us to church. I think we went to church only for the appearance of it all, because it wasn't certainly in my home. And, they made me sing Jesus Loves Me, but it meant nothing to me. So I get to AA and you tell me, you got to find God. What? I moved to the South and you've all been inundated with God, and I get girls like 5 years of sobriety. I go, what's your relationship with God like? And they're like, oh, yeah, he scares me. And so I don't know any alcoholic who hasn't had that trouble. And so we went through We Agnostics. I don't get it. She goes, read it again. I don't get it. I read it 5 more times. I don't get it. Keep reading it. I don't get it. Then I think I got it. I call her up. It says, when we were driven to AA by a self-imposed crisis, we can't postpone or evade. We fearlessly face the proposition that God is everything or else he's nothing. What do you choose? Well, God is. Vicki, I got it. She goes, well, read the next paragraph. It says, arrived at this point, I'm squarely confronted with the question of faith. It talks about stepping off that bridge of reason to the shore of faith. I go, I can't. She goes, you have to. I can't. I can't. She says, if you can't do this, Marian, you're going to have to drink again. It took a lot of work for me to get rid of this. I love it at the end of it. It says, if we help you sweep away prejudice, think honestly and search diligently within yourself, then, if you wish, you can join us. And those were the things that were required of me for me to establish a relationship with God. Vicki had told me that God loved me and forgave me. I don't know that, but I believed her. I believed that woman wasn't trying to hurt me, and we called her Jesus' little ray of sunshine. But I believed her, so God loved me and forgave me. And then I added that he could be all-powerful, and he could grant me mercy, because it says on simple and understandable terms. And those were simple and understandable when I got here, that I could begin to pray to that idea that he loved me, he forgave me, he was all-powerful, and he could grant me mercy. And I wanted to believe those things. So I took step 2, and then comes into step 3, turning my will and life over. And, obviously from all the things that were happening earlier in my sobriety, it tells us what do we mean by that and just what do we do, right? And so my sponsor and I got on our knees, and I did the 3rd step prayer, and I did it out loud on my knees with another human being, and I started to cry. I've never prayed on my knees out loud with another human in my life. Then she gives me the directions for the inventory, my resentments, my fear, and my sex. Of course, you're on my resentment list. Look at that. And it says that the world and its people dominated me. Yeah, you dominate my thoughts. You do something bad to me, and that's all I think about. Then it says we look at it from an entirely different angle. Then it tells us that, these resentments must be mastered. But how? So it tells me these resentments can be mastered. And I don't know how my dad beating me or my mother standing by while that happened, that those resentments could be mastered. But they were mastered. Then it says that I look at you as a sick person, the same as me. God saved me from being angry, right? And then I resolutely look for my own mistake. A mistake can be corrected. A part is, you had a part in it. Nope, I'm leaving you out entirely. I'm looking for my own mistake. So then I did the fear inventory. Behind every single resentment is fear, 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 fear. I am driven by fear. Every aspect of my life is shot through with it. Every job, every relationship, every family, every friend, everything I have is acted on by my fear that I'm living within. Then I love it. It says we ask God to remove our fear and direct our attention to what he'd have us be. Not do, but be. And then the sex inventory. And if you're a girl like me, I loved it. It says for our future conduct, right? For our future sex conduct. I put all that on paper, and I prayed for the right ideal that was perfect for me. I didn't want to be the girl that slept around the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I did that in the bar. I wanted a little bit of decency in my life. And I put that all on paper, and my sponsor came over to do my fifth step, and we kept our clothes on. And for 7 hours, I cried. For 7 hours. Because I was the most intimate I'd ever been with another human being. She got everything about me, everything. And when we were done, we took the book down and we read what it said I was supposed to do, and she left. And I laid on the couch and I prayed from the bottom of my heart. I did exactly what it said. And I tell people that the silence was deafening. When it says, our fears fall from us, we're at perfect peace and ease, we can look the world in the eye. That I sat there and it was like, and it scared me. When I called Vicki, I'm like, something's wrong. It was so like quiet. I don't know what that is. She goes, Marian, that's the peace that you're getting here in Alcoholics Anonymous. So then I had to go out and do 6 and 7. You know, I don't want to get rid of some of the character defects. She goes, are you ready? I said, yep. Entirely ready? No. I mean, I like some of them. I like the ones you don't know. I want the ones removed from me. I love step 6 and 7 and the 12 and 12. I only want the ones that are going to penalize me taken out. But I like to be judgmental. What is she wearing? Oh. Did she look in the mirror? And I don't befriend her because she looks different. You talked about being different. I was different. I don't want to be with different. Or you're so pretty, so I have envy. And you're in trouble, and I can't help you. Because those character defects keep me separated away from you and from God. So she gave me a list of things I needed to do and some work I needed to do. And then we came together and we did the 7-step prayer on our knees. And I had to ask God to remove those defects, what stood in the way of my usefulness to him and others. And then I had to begin practicing character assets. I don't have character assets, or not many, and I had to develop them. I love it. It says the best you know or you can learn how. Like when I got sick as a kid and I had to stay in my room and don't bother my parents. I got sick to the guy I married in AA when I was new. I got sick and he took care of me and I liked it. Then I got sick again and I missed the toilet and he goes, I'll clean it up. I liked it. Then he got sick. He goes, could you get me a blanket? Yep. Do you think you could get me a pillow too? Yeah, let me get you that pillow. Then he's like, could you go get me some ginger ale? What? I don't have that. So if I have to do the best I can, or I can learn how. He got sick again. I go, would you like a pillow and a blanket? Look, I went and got you some soup and ginger ale. Would you like some? I had to start putting it into practice, because how am I ever going to develop character assets if I can't put anything into practice? Then 8 and 9, I had to look at people I'd harmed. How did I harm them? Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. And I'd got it all down. And then I had to make amends. I stole my dad's entire coin collection. I should keep an eye on this time. Ooh. When I was a kid, for the cigarette machine. My friends got $20 a week allowance. I got 2. I am so worried I'm going to, I got caught stealing it. And he said, why would you steal that? My answer is always the same. I don't know. Till I got to AA. Then I said, fear drove me to steal that from you, Dad. I'm so worried I'm going to get cut out of my circles of friends that I'm willing to steal from my own family and rob any amount of trust that you may have had in me. I said, I know I can't get that back to you, but how can I make this up? The 11 steps, sought through prayer and meditation. When I got here, it was God help me stay sober. At the end of the day, it was thank you, God. Then my prayers got really selfish. I needed him to fulfill all kinds of things in my life. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm even selfish when I pray. AA's taught me how to pray. If I look at each of these prayers in the book, it's about me and God. Remove from me, save me, help me to be a channel, right? So I started to learn how to pray. And then meditation. It'd be quiet. California, it's hideous where I lived, but I had a lovely backyard. It was green, and I had this big old goofy dog named Sugar, and Well, I love it in Bill's story when he says, for a moment he'd wanted and needed God, but it's soon drowned out by worldly clamors, mostly those within myself. That's all the stuff that goes on in my head. So I have this high-strung dog named Wally, but he knows that when I'm done meditating, I have his brush next to me, he's going to get brushed. So I finish with I do the 11-step prayer, and I think about who I'm meeting that day, because it tells us upon awakening. And then how could I bring this forward? And I start implementing that prayer, and then those people I'm going to meet along the way that I'm not expecting to meet. How can I use this today? So when I'm done, I start brushing my dog, and then I start thinking, did you call JD back? Oh, what are you going to make for dinner? I got to go to the store. What about the bank? I got to go to the bank. Oh my God. What time did I tell her I was going to see her today? And I'm just brushing away, and my head is already popping back to where it came from. And my dog turns, and he's looking up at the sun, and he has a smile on his face. And I realize that my dog's in the present right now, because Bill talked about standing in the presence at Winchester Cathedral. And I could stop what I was doing and get back into the presence of God. So the 12th step. How did I get from here to here, right? How did that happen? And then to carry the message, right? And to practice the principles in all our affairs. I told you I started doing H&I at 30 Days Sober. I've been carrying the message ever since I got sober. I found a love. My sponsor had 8 H&I panels. I thought she was excessive, but we probably had 100 panels a month, and there were maybe 15 of us. I had those kids, and for an hour and a half, I thought about somebody other than me, and I liked it. So I took another one at those juvenile boys. And then I got AV Hospital, Palmdale Hospital, Acton Rehab, and Tehachapi State Prison. Loved every minute of it. I love the fellowship. Get in my car, let's go. That's how I started developing friends here in Alcoholics Anonymous, putting people I don't know in my car to carry that message to somebody else, right? I'm going to tell you about my friend Kendall. She's coming out to visit in a couple weeks. I'm so excited. So she got sober at a women's facility down in LA, and they called her, somebody knew me. She was coming to Lancaster. They said, you need to go to High Desert Big Book Group and find Marian. So she does, and she shows up, but she doesn't want to go out to Denny's with us afterwards. And then she doesn't want to participate. She doesn't want to come early and greet. So she sat on the curb with her husband smoking. And then she was gone. But I'm notorious. I'm going to get your number. Hey, Kendall, it's Marian. I was just thinking about you. Give me a call if you get the chance. I never ask if you're sober. I don't ask how you're doing. I don't ask if you're going to meetings. I don't care. 2 months later, I haven't seen Kendall. Hey, Kendall, it's Marian. Hey, I was just thinking about you. Give me a call if you get a minute. No call. Everybody knows I'm a football fan. Patriot football. Tom Brady was in play at the time. My husband and I are sitting on the couch. My phone rings. It says Kendall. David, I got to get the phone. I'm like, hello? She goes, help me. Marian, just help me. I look at my watch. I said, Kendall, there's a 4 o'clock women's meeting. Get in the shower, get dressed. I'll come get you. I went and got her some Coca-Cola. I picked her up, and I said, when was the last time you ate? She goes, I don't know. And I drove through McDonald's, and I gave her something to eat and a Coke, and she stunk. I'm like, did you take a shower? She goes, I did. I'm like, there was so much booze coming off of her. And I get her home. I go, give me those keys. She goes, you're really smart. I know. Now give me the keys. And I said, I'll pick you up tomorrow. And I picked her up, and I brought her some more Coca-Cola. I got her another McDonald's meal, and we went to the meeting. I secretaried at noon, 12 and 12. And I said, I got to be there early to open up and make coffee, so I'm going to come get you at 10:30. I pick her up with some more Coca-Cola. I said, after this meeting, we're going to go grocery shopping and get you some proper food. So we went shopping, and I helped carry it in, and I handed her her keys. I said, this is between you and God now, whatever it is you want to do. I was already planning on moving my house was in the process of being sold, and we sold our business, and I'm already moving, and she found a sponsor. And so I watched this woman's life blossom from afar. And during COVID, she turned 5 years sober, and David and I were down in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I called her up, and We sang happy birthday to her. That's what we do in California. And we're talking to her for like 20 minutes. And I said, hey, we got to go now. We just wanted to sing happy birthday to you because, it's your day. But we got to get something to eat before the next game. She goes, thank you for answering the phone, Marian. I don't know where I'd be if you didn't answer that phone for me. She's crying. I'm crying. My husband is crying. What would happen if I side-clicked her? If I wait till after the game? Somebody's life is in the balance at that moment. Nothing is more important for me than that. She's just finished her master's. She has 2 little girls. Her life has just blossomed. And all I did was answer that phone for her. And I'm so excited that she's coming out to Knoxville to spend a long weekend with me. And nothing better than that, people that you have these relationships for life. So I'm going to tell you, I met my husband, my 3rd and final husband, here in Alcoholics Anonymous. But the problem was, I didn't meet him at first. He had long hairs and a ponytail and a leather jacket. And I didn't even see his face, but it was a midnight meeting and no lights were on, but something was happening. But I don't hug the men in AA. Everybody knows that. The men get a handshake, and it's just the way I chose to live here in Alcoholics Anonymous, and because I wanted some decency. And so anyway, but I listened to him. I started listening to him. For the first time, I listened first. And then turns out he has kids. I don't have kids. I don't want your kids. Kids are demanding, expensive, and time-consuming. Turned out it was me. But we dated. We dated for 6 years, and we didn't shack up together. We dated. And, this relationship unfolded between us. And when we got married, the youngest was still at the house. She was 14. And when she turned 16, I'm vacuuming, and David says, Laura has a date tonight. I said, well, she can't date till she's 16. He goes, she's 17. I'm like, when did that happen? Right? I got to be a stepmom. I learned about doing that. She just got married this past April, and she set me at the seat as the mother of the bride, not her mother. Because I learned from you how to be that kind of woman in her life. Her mother had been in and out for years, or even when she's been sober for years now, but her mother's never paid much attention to her kids. Yet I've always been there, and one time something happened, and Laura says, I wish you were my mom. I said, honey, I'm your stepmom. You have a mother, but I'm always going to be your stepmom. So at her wedding, she asked me to sit in the mother of the bride's chair, and my table was next to the head table where the bride and groom sat. So my husband and I married David, and we opened a business, and it blossomed and grew, and he wanted to quit, and I said okay, and we decided to move to Tennessee. And we have a whole life planned in front of us. And, my parents were getting older, and I would fly back to California every quarter to check on them and take care of some things for them. And then one day my mother calls, and she said, we need to move to Tennessee. We're going to need help. Okay. So I spent my entire summer packing up my parents, and I moved them to Knoxville, Tennessee. And, my parents made me the trustee of their trust. Not my brother, not my sister, but me. The girl who stole from our parents, the girl who left them laying in bed night after night worrying, where is our girl? My father got sick, took a turn, in and out of the hospital for a year. He was 90. And I walk in one morning and he says, why can't I just die? Broke my heart. I've been trying to save my dad. I walked out. I told them, you need to stop giving my dad any more medication. This needs to end for him. I loved my dad. They allowed me to make those decisions because they knew I would make the right decision for them. And then my husband and I lost all 4 of our parents in an 8-month period. My father-in-law is dying. I tell David, I don't think I can go. I don't think my dad's going to make it. He flew to California for his father's death. My dad died a week later. 5 months later, his mother died, and the night she died, my mother ended up in the hospital. And I'm like, oh my God, if she dies in the next week, I'm going to be pissed. And I had to make those same end-of-life decisions for my mother. And there was a dark pall on me, and I love this. We don't take ourselves too seriously. I'm sitting on the couch. My husband and I had a cup of coffee every day at the end of the day. We don't talk to you. We don't answer our phone. We spend it with one another. And I said, I feel like a serial killer. David sat there and he said, all of our friends, their parents are getting older. I'm going to tell them, hey, if you got trouble, call Marian. She'll take care of it. I love that he could get into that humor as well, and I needed humor to lift me from where I was. August 5th of 2023, my long-term sponsor, got sick and died. She had 3 weeks, and she passed. My husband puts in for his retirement a week after I'm in California, we go to the state line retreat every year in Vegas, and we come home, and my husband's going to lose weight and fight. He's like, I lost 5 pounds. I'm like, jerk. And then all of a sudden he's walking by. I'm like, how much weight have you lost? He's like, 15. I'm like, that's enough. Then he walks by and he's like, David. He goes, I've lost 22 pounds. I go, something's wrong. He goes, well, I'm having trouble swallowing and my stomach feels full. I said, I think that's the hiatal hernia. I Google it, I look it up. I go, you got a hiatal hernia. You got to go to the doctor. So he makes a doctor appointment, and I had to come to California. They rush him in for a MRI. He has esophageal cancer, and it's already metastasized to his liver, his lungs, and his bones. And those first 2 months, I'm vibrating on the inside. I could feel it, and it's fear. And I'm driving with my dog in the car. I'm getting her nails done. And I'm driving, and this voice says, Marian, you need to surrender this. And I felt this warmth from my head that moved all the way through my body and out my feet. And there was perfect peace in my car. And I get to the light, and I said, do I need to surrender, David? No, Marian, just you. How can I surrender my husband? When the book asks us to remove our fear, when it says we're in the world to play the role he assigns, God's assigned me now as a wife, advocate, and caregiver. And I gladly stepped into those roles for my husband. And I watched my beautiful 6'3", 230-pound husband whittle down to maybe 140 pounds in 5 months. But there was nothing left unsaid between us. It's the first time I've been faithful my entire life with one person. But as he's sick, and that moment happened in the car, I had a sponsee, and we were reading step 2 out of the 12 and 12. And they talk about the defiant one. I've never found myself to defy God, because I've never said, screw you, God. But I'm defying his will. His will is exactly what's happening. And all that fear inside was me fighting against what the will of God has been. So I calmly accepted my role, and I was there for my husband. And I'm on a new spiritual journey here in Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's one I don't like. Nobody said life was going to be easy. Life can be tough. I lost my entire inner circle in 2.5 years. And I was sharing at a couple meetings, there's a line in the 11th step that says, we can be contented with life as long as we play well the cards we're dealt. And I was sharing about I got a 2, a 4, a 9, a jack, and an ace. I got crappy cards. On my birthday this year, I was praying and meditating, and I realized I have been given a royal flush every day for 38 years. All the other things are nothing. I have a royal flush. So my life hasn't ended. I went to Louder Than Life one day, music festival in Kentucky. I heard Rob Zombie, Lamb of God, Marilyn Manson, and Slayer. I made my first trips. I went to the Jersey City, and then I went to where did I go? New Orleans on my own, and I ate in a restaurant by myself. I did those things because this is my new life. I do things with friends. I just got back from Nashville New Orleans with a friend. We went to a Patriot game because David and I went. We spent Christmas with him at the Broncos Stadium, and after David died, he said, "What game are we going to?" He stepped into the role for my husband to make sure I get to a Patriots game at a different stadium every year. The fellowship that we find here in Alcoholics Anonymous, the people that I hated when I got here. You are the ones who've saved my life. You're the ones who showed me how to be a stepmother, a wife, a daughter, an employee, all the things I wasn't. You showed me how to do them. You, God, Alcoholics Anonymous, the sponsors that I've had, the women that have influenced the decisions I make and how I live my life, and gave me a moral compass that I could walk toward to put myself in a different position. My life has been good. It may have been hard this last couple years, but life is good. And it can be good for you. I know we have some new women back there. We do this thing one day at a time. When I got here at 26, I called my sponsor. I go, technically, my life expectancy is 76. That's 50 years. I cannot not drink for 50 years. She goes, you can't. But you can do it one day at a time. And now my life expectancy is 86. I can't look for the long term, but I can look for today. I want to thank you, thank God, and thank Alcoholics Anonymous for everything that's happened in my life. Thank you.